Hi, hello, welcome. Welcome to this week's mini live that I'm holding for the Grounded Visionary. Every week I cover something that I hope is going to connect to something that perhaps you don't have the time and space for in your normal everyday life. To share with you the benefits of being more in your body, being more connected to yourself, harnessing the power of somatics, sharing the joy and the magic of dance, so that I hope I can inspire you in some way. So this week's theme is about compassion. And what I've really loved since I've started doing these lives is that actually it really is a test for me to practice what I preach. So in this case, showing up like this live with all my awful imperfections and flaws and all the rest of it, and my awkwardness and this and that, is just like, whoa, just come back home to myself and come back to something deeper than this, right? Now, what I've just shared might be familiar to you. Some people get stressed every time they press post, send, email, a social media post, every action. Some of you, if you suffer from anxiety, might have anxiety about everything that you do in the world, okay? All of that anxiety and that comes from a place where there is no compassion. There is no compassion if you are stressing and worrying and anxious. So I'd like to invite you to reflect for a moment on what the word compassion means for you. When I say compassion, how does that land for you, that word? Do you have some image of Mother Teresa? Is it some sort of vague concept out there? Is it something that you start to feel in your body? Perhaps you are grieving someone at the moment, or a friend, and you have compassion for them. Perhaps you know someone who's very ill or going through a really hard time, and you feel that compassion for them. And I'd like to ask you, how does it feel if I say to you, do you practice compassion for yourself? What does that mean for you? Is that something that you're familiar with, or is it something that feels a bit alien? If you have made a mistake, I'd invite you to reflect on some sort of mistake you feel you might have made. It might be something from the past that you've never quite gotten over, a big mistake. It might be just something that you did this morning. Maybe you went out and left something on, or whatever you did. And I invite you to think about your reaction to your mistake. Think about a mistake that you've made. What is your tendency to do when you think you've made a mistake? Do you immediately start getting frustrated? Do you start getting angry with yourself? Do you start putting yourself down? I've been guilty of that a lot. I used to just be muttering to myself, oh, you silly cow, why did you do that? And this awful, toxic narrative that I would have with myself in my mind, putting myself down. And, those thoughts are energy. Those thoughts move so fast. I can't remember off the top. They move so fast through our body. They affect our whole body so quickly. So if you're thinking toxic thoughts, you're literally sending toxicity into your body. So when you're feeling frustrated or annoyed with yourself, I invite you to just take a pause when that happens, and just take some breaths to ground through your feet, ground through your pelvis, just ground through your whole being. And then the invitation is to just breathe and drop a little bit into your heart. Now, the moment you breathe into your heart, everything softens. The minute you breathe into our heart is so powerful. I've talked about this a lot, and there's a lot of science now about it from the Heart Math Institute. And we know from historically and from all the stuff that happens in the world that when we're in our hearts, the frequency around us changes because the electromagnetic energy of our heart stretches out 10 meters beyond us. If everyone, I've talked about this before, if everyone, especially people who have power in the world, if they came from a place of being in their hearts, the world would be a completely different place. When we're in our hearts, we're practicing our compassion. So why am I talking about compassion in particular with what I do? Because when we're in our hearts and when we practice compassion, first of all, we're not busy in our minds being stressed out. When we're in stress, that causes illness. That actually weakens our immune system. So immediately by coming into our hearts and practicing compassion, we release the overactivity of the frontal cortex, which gives us all that stress and ruminating. When we ruminate, overthink, play over the mistakes we've made, that's all that frontal brain stuff, which is exhausting. It's exhausting. It takes up an awful lot of energy. It removes the oxygen. It takes all the energy from the oxygen to feed this awful circus monkey, and it takes away the oxygen that feeds our cells and our organs and nourishes our body so that we can be healthy. It stops our blood circulating properly. Everything stops working properly if we're stressed, which also means that we're not in our hearts. So when we're in our hearts, we release our stress, which strengthens our immune system. It also helps to melt and dissolve the fear because we're coming from a place of love. If we're in compassion, we're too busy being in our hearts and feeling that compassion to then be scared. If we're in our hearts and we're feeling compassion, it means that we relate to people in a very different way. We might be frustrated with our boss or our partner or a friend who seems to be acting unreasonably, who seems to be very angry, who is just not being nice, right? Now, generally, if someone is not being nice, there's something going on for them, right? Maybe they're not happy about something. If you drop into your hearts and you feel compassion, then when someone is at you and being difficult, rather than you also reacting and feeling defensive or getting upset with them, actually you're going to take a different lens. When we're in our hearts and we're feeling compassion, we have a different lens to see through the world. And so we will start to see what's really going on for that person. Why are they being this way? Why are they being so angry? Why are they being so negative? Why are they being so mean? Why are they unhappy? What is really going on for them? When we're in our hearts and in our compassion, we have this lens. And so working through the body and with somatics and with dance in particular, we can really drop into that space of really sensing and feeling all the different parts of us and also being able to come into our hearts. And this is part of what I do. Always I'm guiding people home, directly or indirectly, into the nurturing, supportive, compassionate space of our hearts. This is this part of the subject of the somatic dance I'm going to hold at the Meta conference next month in Spain, Awakening Our Hearts into a dance of joy and belonging, a somatic dance of joy and belonging. So when we drop into our hearts through movement and dance, what we're in effect doing is the movement and the somatics is allowing us to connect more deeply into ourselves, allowing us to connect into our heart space, allowing us to actually connect into all the different emotions. We're dropping out of our frontal cortex into our default brain. Our brain waves are slowing down into alpha theta. We start to go into the parasympathetic. We get more reflective, and we can drop more easily into the power of our heart. The beauty of working with our emotions in this way, through our bodies, through movement, through dance, which is, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned, 1,000%, it's the best way. Yes, we can sing a song, which is also an energetic movement of our body. It's a dance in itself. Singing, it's an energetic moving. Yes, we can paint. Yes, we can write songs and, those outlets for our emotions. When we do it through our whole body experience, through movement and dance, the dance is both a container for our emotions to hold whatever is moving through us, and it's a legitimate outlet so that we can express and be free in a way that is legitimate. It's a dance. It's just a dance. We can have an angry dance. We can have a fearful dance. We can have a stuck dance. But eventually, something will shift and change. I remember one time years ago in a dance movement therapy session, I was actually going as a participant, and I was in a very stuck place in my life. And the dance I kept doing, I couldn't help myself. I just kept going round and round in this circle, just repetitive looping dance. I was like, oh my God, and I just couldn't get out of it because that was how I was feeling. But then eventually, after some movement, something shifted, something broke, the dam broke. And I kind of just released this long, big exhalation of release because something had to move, something had to shift. And when that movement made me move and shift, something shifted in my mind. That is the power of being able to drop deep into your body, to work with what's going on for you. And so, yeah, gosh. So I just want to let all that land in you for a moment and come back to the original question of, are you kind to yourself? Never mind mistakes that you might have made. What about now, right now in your life? Are you where you want to be in your life? Do you feel like you've missed some opportunities? Do you look at other people and compare and think, oh, look at them, they're much further ahead than I am? Or do you judge yourself? Oh, I'm this age now, I should be doing this by now. Oh, I should have this by now. I should have my Mercedes in the drive, or I should have my house with 2 cats, 2 dogs, and 2 kids, and whatever. Do you find yourself comparing, judging? That's not practicing compassion for yourself. If you're practicing compassion for yourself, you're just more of an external observer on what's happening for you in your life, because you're coming from a place of heart. Which means you're coming from a place of understanding. You're coming from a place of warmth, of acceptance. And actually, to be able to accept yourself as you are, it can take some courage as well. Because if you're accepting of yourself, you're not going to be afraid to show up in the world. You're not going to be afraid to be visible. You might not, it could be something simple like you don't like the way you look. Maybe you've put on loads of weight. Maybe whatever. You've never liked the way you look. Maybe, you've been in a rut and you've been eating junk food the whole time and you've just put on tons of weight. You look terrible. And so that stops you showing up. That stops you being visible. Stops you going places. But when you're compassionate with yourself, you forgive yourself for all of this, and you decide that actually you're good enough as you are, you accept yourself, and you go and show up anyway. And so compassion can actually give you courage. give you courage to do the things that you wouldn't normally do because you'd be afraid of being judged. Because you've decided you're actually good enough. You've decided that you can show up, and to hell with whoever judges you, right? They need to do better things with their with their minds. They need to find other things to think about, right? It's their issue. It's their issue, not yours. So you don't have to make it yours. Our heart is the most powerful thing that we have, that belongs to us, that we can use to harness our inner strength. Just like with our breath is the one tool that we can, it happens whether we think about it or not, but we can also intentionally alter our breath, okay, which alters our whole physiology. So in Chinese philosophy, our breath is connected to our heart. It is one and the same. Our breath is our heart, is our spirit, is our soul. It's all connected. It's all one and the same. And so when you connect into your heart, you're allowing your breath, the breath of life, to enter you, to feed your spirit and your soul. And that in itself is something beautiful, worth celebrating in this world. The gift of life. So many. I've just recently heard in these last 2 weeks of 2 people that I know very well. One of them's not well at all, and the other one has now passed, and it was a total shock. Complete, utter shock. He came to some of my classes before in person. Not very old. And so being able to be compassionate with ourselves, to be kind with ourselves, will improve the quality of our life no end. It will lengthen our life. It will improve our relationships. And if you're interested in this work through somatics, to do it through movement and dance, then I've got 2 things on offer that you can find in my link. Well, one is a free, completely free playful power reset, which you can join, which has some free practices to help you find your power, find your voice, to relax, have some fun. And the other one is something that I would love you to join. I'm creating some new practices that will drop into end of September, beginning of October. I'll actually be away then, so I'm going to pre-record them. Then there's a live meetup. It's called Embody Your Power. If you join now, there's also an on-demand class called Emotional Alchemy that helps you work through your emotions. And there's also a free, a bonus mini course, Embody, Find Your Center, Get Ready to Dance, and a little PDF of a body compass to guide you. It's only £33. You have the materials forever. I'd love you to join. So message or comment below if you want the reset, or if you want Embody Your Power, message power. You can find the information in my link on my website, or drop me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear how you found this live. If something spoke to you, if anything made sense or didn't, or resonated, or made you have some kind of insight or realization, I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment below.